I'm going to show you how to make today. It's a mask, or rather a face covering because it's not PPE standard, but it's very nearly PPE standard. But we can't really call it a mask. We have to call it a face covering. It's got a nose clip in the top, so it's got a little aluminium nose clip in the top. It spreads out nicely. It's got a filter built in, so it has some interfacing like this. This is Corovin. It's a furnishing fabric interfacing, and that does really well on filtration and stopping the germs coming through. It's not 100%, no mask ever is. I've got a metre of fabric here. It's been pre-washed, so it's not going to shrink when we stick it in the wash again when we're washing the garment or the face covering. I've folded the width of this is the width of fabric, and I folded it in half and in half again. It's been ironed. What you'll get out of a metre of fabric is 3 cuts. So I'm going to cut it 9 inches wide for the width of the fabric, and from that you'll be able to cut 3 mask lengths out, and I'll show you how it's done. And out of the metre, you're going to get 3 more that are 9 inches wide. You get 5 inches left over. If you have 2 metres, you can get an extra mask out of it. So don't cut your fabric into 1 metre lengths, because you'll have a lot left over at the end. What I'm going to do is now cut this in 2. There we have. Out of 1 width of fabric 9 inches wide, you will get 3 masks. Okay, here's 1 mask. I'm going to fold it right sides together as accurately as I can. It never seems to work out accurately, no matter how fastidiously you cut the fabric. So just folding it in half, and then I'm laying on the interfacing. Now you can see I've cut the interfacing just probably 1/4 of an inch narrower than the actual fabric. So it's about 1/8 of an inch on either side, maybe just a little bit more. I maybe could have cut this just a little bit wider, but I want to make sure I can, on the seam, sew the interfacing in, but I don't want too much on the edge so it's bulky when I try and fold it. So that's how I'm going to sew it. Right, so I'm just going to do a little, if I can do it the right way around, little stay stitch, and then I'm just making sure I'm catching that interfacing in my sewing line. Doing 1/4 of an inch seam on it. I don't want to do more. I'm just eyeballing it. I'm not tacking it, or I'm not using pins or anything. I'm just holding it in place and hoping for the best. It's not an actual science. And I'm going to stop about 2 inches from the top, and I've done a little backwards and forwards on it to make sure it stays in place. Now I'm going to take it out of the machine. That if it was a little bit further, I'm just going to take the edge off of here, because when I fold it, I want it just, I know I'm only taking a sliver off, but it will make a difference when I fold it back. So let's just, looks a bit unwieldy, but what I'm going to do is turn it inside out. Yay! Oh, no, first of all, I'm just going to cut the corners, just, don't cut them right on the sewing, but just within about 1/8 of an inch, just so that the corners aren't bulky when I turn it inside out. Okay, right, back to the desk. Right, I'm going to turn it inside out now. It's quite robust because it's a cotton fabric, and I've sewn it into the lining in. So I say it's quite robust. She said trying to pull everything in, pushing it through. Ooh, looks like a ball of a rag, really. There, it will come clean, honestly. Right, I'm just going to use that to poke out the corners. My trusty paintbrush. I get quite a good corner on there. I'm going to poke out that corner. Oh, come on. There we are. And that's the corner that we've got open. And you can see the fabric in there. I want that to lie flat because I want to turn that in over the interfacing. So if I got too much interfacing there, it wouldn't lie particularly flat. So that's laying quite nice and flat. I've got my ironing pad here. This is a wool, thick wool ironing pad. I do like it because it's just small enough to keep putting on and off the table. Just the right size for this. I'm just easing out the seams. My iron's on medium. 2 blobs. The interfacing doesn't particularly like a very hot iron. It makes it go a bit lumpy. So if you iron it on medium, it behaves particularly well. So I'm just going to iron, and you'll see that I'm going to iron that opening into place, and I'm just making sure that it's ironed to within 1 inch of its life, and I'm just going to turn it over, get all those creases out. The problem with cotton is that it does crease, so not a lot you can do about it. That's the ironing. Well, almost. So the way to fold it is you can either, I don't know where my pattern's gone. Oh, here it is. Too much stuff on my desk. I've done a template for how the thing should be folded, and I've worked it out on it's a table template, believe it or not, in Word. And Zoe has a copy of this that she can give you to help you make it. And it just shows where the peak of the fold is and where the valley of the fold is, and where that fold comes down to here. And likewise, that's flat. That is the peak. It comes down to there. The valley's in the middle. It'll make more sense when I show you what I've done, which is I've cut out the template and I've folded it, and that's what your mask should look like. I've got some other marks down here which I'll explain in a minute, but this helps to get the folds right. Now you can either do it like this one, where I've pulled it down and put clips down the side, or we can put this template on and fold it into the paper. I'll first show you that one with this And what I've done is I've got some of these, and I'll show you them, these delightful little quilting clips. They're like little bungee crocodile clips, but they're used in quilting to bind fabric, so, or bind the edging of the quilt. So what I've got here is I've got a fold that I want to go at. That fold I definitely want as a valley, and that fold is there. So if you're once you get confident at it, you'll be able to do it without even thinking about it. So I'm putting a clip round, and that is down to that valley, that peak there. So that I want to bring down to here. So I'm going to fold it here, and then fold it back on itself. It doesn't have to be supremely accurate, because at the end of the day, you're going to sew into it, but stuff over the top. Aligning it up against the bottom again. The fold is there. We want it to... come on. So... let me put it round that way, it's easier to see. So you do the same that side. So you'll end up with I know I'm just doing it very approximately. You'll end up with something like that, and the pleats are held together by the clips here. So that's one way of doing it. The other way is with this, and it is a bit, you do need a bit of manual dexterity, so don't think, oh my god, I can't do this. Yes, you can. And it took me a few goes to get my manual dexterity around it. So I'm going to flip it, I'm going to fold it, because I've already got this paper folded. So I'm going to go like that, but the paper's folded underneath. Get out of there. And I'm going to fold. Sometimes I have to turn it all over and hope for the best. And then turn it over again. And then I'm going Oh, that didn't turn out quite as well because I was rushing. And what you can see here is I've got too much of a pleat there, so I might just do this again. Let's try it again. Whiz through it. So, I'm going to turn it over because that'll give a better pleat. You have to fiddle about and work out which is the best way for you to fold it. And sometimes it works better one way and sometimes it works better the other. So you just have to fiddle about to see what you're doing. And there, I've got it folded. If it's a little bit out, it really doesn't matter. Because, again, it'll get hidden between. And what I'm going to do, it'll get hidden between the folds, so don't worry. What I'm going to do is iron it with a paper around it. Bink. So it'll hold some of the creases. Take the paper out. Fold it up again. And there we go. So I've now got that concertinaed, and that will hold its shape because the iron is hot enough to make the fabric hold its shape and make it usable.